Hello, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to talk, kind of pick up where we left off, kind of in the recovery, and really kind of dive into your body's readiness to work out.
Yeah, so a quick little analogy is readiness is kind of the equivalent to the charge in your battery.
Yes, and preparedness is
Preparedness is the size of the battery. So if we need more battery, we need to be more prepared. If we need to charge the battery, it's more on how ready we are to perform that day.
yeah, and so kind of where we kind of left off as far as recovering and trying to get back to better than where we were before, but kind of back to this homeostasis, and then also to kind of give you an idea because you may not know. Where you're at because we don't want to kick ourselves out of that super compensation phase of recovery. We want to make sure the work that we are doing is kind of more maybe in that retraining or detraining zone, so we're not sending conflating signals to the tissue.
Right. So if we were to do a max effort day on Monday, and then on Tuesday we come back and we do maybe not a max effort, but closer to max effort, we might dig ourselves a bit of a deeper hole that we would have to take longer to actually recover from. And so then you're gonna that workout would then lead to not being ready to perform the next heavy strength workout.
Yeah, because like if we're on like a max effort day, it's actually probably one of the even though the volume isn't there, it kind of is one of those where the next day you tend to feel the most sluggish after those type of workouts.
Right. So just say you did your max effort, but then you did maybe you went mountain biking or you did like, but it was a hard mountain bike, like
Comparatively.
comparatively. Um, while that's aerobic and it's a completely different energy system, the amount of energy that you put into that, just say you were out there on the trail for 4 or 5 hours, that might actually dig you a bit of a deeper hole instead of it being more of a light, zone one, zone two, where you're going to, enhance the recovery.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of try to give you some idea of like how well you are, how prepared you are for going into your current workout maybe that day.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Whoop band, there's a bunch of wearables
Yes.
that kind of give you these approximations. But I think what we're going to try to talk about is basically like a self assessment where you can kind of gauge your readiness based on several factors that you can monitor on your own without needing a device.
Yeah, and we're actually gonna post a link in the comments as far as just a simple spreadsheet we created to where you just kind of go through a few questions and kind of based off of that, you kind of know how to structure your workout for the day because we may have a an overall plan for the week, like a microcycle and kind of what we're intending, but let's say we have a new baby and our kid woke up 5 times in the middle of the night.
You sound like you're talking from experience.
She hopefully we're over the hump. I do have an 8 9 month at home. Uh, anyways, yeah. So I think we're over the hump, but you may not want to or have the ability to then go into uh, like a heavy CNS day, a heavy max effort day, uh, because you've been up all night. So the
Correct.
idea is answer these questions, and it'll kind of give you some guideline as far as how you can then kind of make adjustments to your workout that day. Because doing the wrong thing can then actually, like I said, it can kind of kick us out of that stimulating zone and kind of out of that growth curve of supercompensation.
Right. So it kind of, I believe you made like a traffic light system, right? So kind of red light, green light, yellow light. So you can kind of, if you're in the green and your workout is heavy, well, go after it. If you're in the yellow, you might want to consider altering it a little bit. And if you're in the red, there's clearly some changes that could be made.
Yeah, so I think maybe if you're in the green, and this will all make sense kind of when you see it and when we talk about a little bit about more. But if you're in the green, yeah, you probably want to be in that stimulating zone of training. You're good to go in that. If you're maybe in the yellow, then maybe you're kind of more in this kind of like retraining zone. And then if you're in the red, then kind of maybe think about, hey, I need a little bit more recovery. Maybe I'm going to now pivot or go according to plan. Because if you're programming, I think if you can get your programming dialed in, you'll see that uh, you'll have to call less audibles in your like weekly programming.
Yeah, and just a quick aside. So the goal isn't always to be in the green. I think that's a misconception. Like, yes, we want to recover, but if we're always in the green, it might also mean that we're not training hard enough.
Yeah, you're probably if you're always in the green, you're probably maybe just spending most of your workouts in that retraining zone, and you're probably like we mentioned, or the first couple podcasts, want to maybe focus more on how do we kind of get out of that plateau, and that's bringing ourselves into that truly stimulating zone of working out and more that beginner, bring yourselves kind of that beginner.
Yeah, so a lot of times the plateau in this case, you know, if you're focused on recovery because you don't want to be sore, that's fine. But if you're kind of stuck in this plateau where you're not seeing progress, it could just mean that you need a little bit more intensity in the right place.
All right, all said and done. So we kind of gave you guys some metrics as far as and weighted them accordingly as far as uh, yeah, what we can track and what's going to kind of help us go into recovering better. And yeah, so first one, probably number one thing you can do is probably number one thing you can also measure is sleep quality.
Yeah, so I think there's a famous LeBron James quote about how he gets, 10 hours of sleep every night. So he prioritizes sleep. There's a lot of athletes that they start tracking these things and they realize that their performance is so much better after a good night's sleep. And I don't think you can argue that if you have a good night's sleep, you feel rested and recovered. Um, there's no modality that can truly replace that.
Yeah, and I think there's so much behind sleep, and we'll actually talk maybe go into a full podcast on sleep, but there's so much that sleep addresses. It's yeah, like I said, we could spend a whole episode just kind of talking about that.
Yep.
Great book,
Matthew Walker.
Matthew Walker.
Why
yes.
We Sleep.
Why We Sleep.
Yep.
Yeah, so we kind of weighted that the heaviest as far as that on a scale of 1 to 5. You kind of just rank yourself as far as how well your quality was. Also, up there heavy on the priority is it's kind of subjective, but your energy level that day going into the workout. How do you feel?
Yeah, so not every morning do you wake up ripper and ready to go, but you want to kind of give a subjective gauge on, do I feel like I'm ready for today's workout, or does it feel like it's going to be a bit of a struggle? So just kind of that subjective rating of our current energy.
Yeah, and honestly, even if you're not working out, it's probably a good thing just because the more we can just be in tune with our bodies and bring awareness to things in our everyday life, it can only add benefit. I mean, if you get in the habit of taking this kind of maybe self-assessment in the morning time, it'll maybe kind of help you reflect on the day prior and things that you did, so that you can almost like self-correct if there's a place for it.
Yeah, not that you have to keep an additional journal, but this little kind of form would give you potential markers to then look at, as far as like, okay, well, every morning I wake up and I really don't feel like I've got a bunch of energy. So what am I doing the night before? What am I doing in my workouts that continue to leave me, fatigued and under prepared for, or under ready for the next workout? But I think that that energy level, I think that it also ties into the rest of these things that we'll continue to talk about.
Yeah, because I think I think it's a good way to base uh, how well you are prepared for that day's workout, just because I mean it's just kind of innate into us. I mean, if we're feeling you know dragged down and maybe we don't have these wearables or Uh, but you taking some sort of self-analysis on your energy level is only going to kind of help give you some ability level to understand if maybe you are overtraining, maybe you are uh, had too much on your plate the prior day.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I don't think we should default to taking some sort of caffeine or some sort of stimulant to get us ready to go for the workout. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
I'm guilty of that.
Drink a cup of coffee, whatever. But in a perfect world, you don't necessarily need it, right? I don't think it's a requirement. But I think there's a lot of people that default. They're probably under recovered, maybe not quite as ready as they want, but they know they've got a workout scheduled, so they're it's not a problem. But if you're consistently relying on these, it may mean that we're subtracting from our big bank account on the back end.
Yeah, and uh, kind of your subjective rating on your overall energy level. I think we all kind of maybe we all do that to some level going into workouts. Like some days it's like, oh, I feel like crap. I am going to dial it back. We're just kind of adding this into this kind of like this overall self-assessment and just kind of putting a little bit, maybe a little bit more weight to it to kind of give you some more like a more of a quantitative feedback
Yeah, and I
on it.
think that there's a lot of times where you might not feel ready to work out, but once you get going, then the energy starts to kind of flow a bit. So that inertia to get started sometimes is the biggest, but after you get over that hurdle.
Yeah. Next up, muscle soreness. This one will be kind of inverted. So uh, if you're not sore at all, you go lower or give yourself a lower score. And if you're really sore, you would give yourself a higher score. Uh, so yes, with soreness, I mean it's pretty. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. But I mean, yeah, it can compromise if you're incredibly sore after a workout. Uh, that could also mean that we have some delayed onset muscle soreness. We may not be ready to uh, go into a stimulating training zone, but it can also potentially compromise movement quality.
Yeah, so the nervous system is always in tune with what's going on, and so we know that altered motor control happens in the presence of altered neural signaling, and the delayed onset muscle soreness can alter how the body perceives itself. So it could change how we move. So the movement quality is not necessarily going to be degraded, but it could be.
But yeah, like, it also could cause more compensations elsewhere. So if you're super slow sore in your lower body from a lower body workout, and you now having to go into some sort of exercise, you may end up compensating and using a lot more low back.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that would be a prime example where, or we see, after a heavy shoulder day, we might see an excessive amount of spine to try to get ourselves into that position, just to take some stress off of the fatigued area.
Yeah. Next up, we have stress level. That's
Yep.
also going to be inverted. So if you're having a heavy stress day, you'll score higher. If you're having a low stress day, you put in a low score. Uh, yeah, so if we're under high stress, that's going to have, I mean, it can have several significant impacts, especially from the hormone level.
Yeah, I mean, everyone seems to be stressed these days for various reasons. Um, and the point of the workout is to create some sort of stress tolerance, right? So, unfortunately, stress is stress. So, it doesn't matter if it's emotional, if it's physical, if it's, chemical, whatever. It all has to get funneled into basically the sympathetic nervous system. So, if you're feeling super stressed because of something at work, and then you've got a heavy workout planned, you know, this is potentially going to say that you might need to dial it back. Not necessarily, but, you know, it's going to give you that feedback is saying that today might not be the day to bring the heat.
Yeah. Also on the list, number 5, hydration.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like hydration is a pretty hot topic these days. Um, this is one of those things that your water quality matters. Um, there's a lot of evidence coming out that tap water is not so great, but the other thing too is actually the cellular hydration. So we don't just want pure water all the time. This would be where the importance of electrolytes, because if you're just drinking pure water, you're going to kind of flush the system. So we're going to kind of wash those electrolytes out. So we're not able to retain certain amounts of water in the areas that we want. So
Yeah, we'll go into more, I think, another time on hydration as well, like nutrition, maybe hydration, maybe we'll
yep.
combine both. Nutrition also up there. It's literally the fuel that it's what gives us energy to do workouts. So what we put in our body matters.
Yeah, and I would just say, whole food, nutrient dense options as best as possible.
Yeah, and then also from the side that when you're eating the wrong foods can cause more inflammation, and yeah, like also then maybe feel like our energy levels are down. There's a lot of other downstream effects from eating the wrong foods.
Yeah, so we've talked about the mitochondria in some other, but it's like if we gunk them up, they're not able to transform the fuel into energy. So the food quality matters at the cellular level as well.
Yeah, and then this may by rating your nutrition, that morning when you wake up or prior to workout, it just maybe bringing more awareness to the foods that you're eating and then how well you're actually able to perform.
Yeah, so if you have a night out on the town and you notice that your performance has dipped a little bit, it's not saying that you can't do that, but you now know that there's probably going to be a bit of a cost, right? And then if you're really dialed in, your performance is starting to improve on a consistent basis. So it just again gives us another marker to allow us to kind of track things at a little bit more deeper level.
Mm-hmm. Also on there, pain or injuries. So if we're in pain, obviously it's going to maybe compromise our movements or any previous injuries. Can cause more inflammation in the system, kind of leaving like a sluggish, and then also compensations in other areas.
Yeah, it'd be the same thing as the DOMS, right? The delayed onset muscle soreness. So if your knee hurts, it's going to alter how you load the knee. So you're going to choose a different strategy. Previous injury, again, this could be a whole separate podcast, but after an injury heals, the tissue doesn't just go back to the way that it was. So there's potentially some altered tissue to where the movement's not going to be exactly the same. So again, if you're feeling discomfort during the movement, that's something to just kind of keep track of.
I mean, our body has pain for a reason. So I think a good overall thing is probably not moving into pain.
Yeah, so if you think of, so pain is generally thought as like tissue damage, but a more accurate kind of way to think about pain is the signal before anything really happens. It's like the warning sign. So, the check engine light comes on, doesn't mean that your engine has already blown up. It's just saying if you keep driving it, it might, right? So
Yeah.
pain is kind of the same thing. So it's the warning sign that if you keep doing what you're doing, we might have a problem. So it's to change behavior, change what's going on.
Yeah, and that'd also be an inverted score. So if you're not in pain, you'd go lower. If you are in pain, the higher you are, the more pain that you have, the higher you would score. Also, movement quality. How well do you feel like your mobility is that day? Your just your ability level to get into these different calisthenics or external exercises.
Yeah, so I think everyone's had that where they wake up feeling great and they drop into a squat and they don't feel like there's any restriction. Then there's the opposite where you wake up and you're just like it feels like a chore to get into certain positions. So day to day, the body is going to be a bit different. Just because you were sore one day doesn't mean you're going to be sore the next day, but it's just an indication that today, again, may not be the day to bring the heat, or maybe it is. It could be both.
Yeah. Also, finally, last on the list, your mood.
Yeah. So again, this kind of goes back to the stress. Um, if you've failed a test at school and you're kind of in a bad mood, um, you're probably not wanting to put a lot of effort into a workout. You had a fight with a significant other, something along those lines. So again, it's just more on that like neurological, mental side of things.
Mm-hmm.
But the mindset of getting ready to do the workout, like it all comes into play.
Well, that's important because I think we talked about it another day. It's like it's going to affect our intentionality into what we're doing. And what we mentioned before, I mean, the key to really getting results and is the intentionality and the focus on what it is we're actually trying to do.
Yeah. So
if your mood's, if your mind is elsewhere, I mean, yeah, it's going to have an effect on a workout.
Yeah. So there's an argument. So Dr. Stuart McGill, he's a famous low back researcher, and he sees patients in his clinic in Canada, and he has no music because he doesn't want the music to be distracting. I'm not saying like yes, music can be motivational, but it affects the way that like if your mind's thinking about the song and not about the exercise, and you're doing a max effort, whatever, you could lose focus and something could happen. Same way as if you're talking to someone. I heard this story not too long ago. There's a guy warming up bench press. This guy could do like 500 pounds, no problem. Warming up with just the bar. Someone says, "Hey, John, what?" And he goes to look over, and then tears a pack like in the warm up.
Yeah.
And so it's like being focused, being like in the moment, dialed into the exercise makes a huge difference. So if your mood, if you're thinking about what am I going to cook for dinner, what am I going to, do after this, you're just not going to put as much effort into the workout.
And yeah, that might kick us out of being in a stimulating zone to staying in a retraining zone.
And there's nothing wrong with dropping down if that's what the day calls for. It's not the end of the world, but if you're trying to meet some specific goals, it would make a difference.
Yeah. So the idea is just kind of give you another tool to kind of help better serve your workouts, and then also maybe structure workouts, but then really just bring awareness to maybe like your weekly programming, and then also how these outside maybe environmental effects have on our day-to-day ready-to-go-ness.
Yeah, so it's not just the fact that you worked out yesterday and you're not ready to work out today. All of these other factors that we discussed are going to play a role. And so it's that cumulative effect of are you ready or are you maybe less ready?
Yeah, and I would suggest maybe if you give yourself at least maybe like 30 days of kind of some like baseline data. Don't change maybe anything maybe in your programming. Keep everything the same, and then maybe start using this like, oh, I scored really, and then yeah, so then within that first trial, like then kind of maybe map your performance level in those workouts, and then maybe now after those 30 days, then you're still taking the assessment, but you're now maybe tweaking your day-to-day, your workouts according to how well you're recovered or your readiness, and see how that then affects your your workout for the day?
Yeah, so trends are super important. I wouldn't change anything based on one bad day or one day that it says you're not ready. Um, like like you said, I think that's a really good point. Taking your scores, and if you plot that out and then you plot that on top of what your workout was and match those up to see, okay, we did a super heavy day on Monday, Tuesday, what did you feel like? And then you can kind of see how that plots out. um, then whenever you go into the next cycle, then you can now start to make some changes on the fly that might allow you to be dialed in just a little bit better.
Yeah. And even if you don't have the ability or the desire to, go into that in the weeds, uh, it can. I think it can only help. So just give it a shot, and
I mean, if you wanted to even simplify this, further, like you could just say, okay, I'm gonna rate my, you know, quality of sleep. Did I get, some water today? Did I, how's my nutrition? Like you could make this simple and just start to put a little bit of intention or a little bit of attention behind it.
yeah,
Because if you just go into the workout kind of randomly, um, and then you wonder why you're not getting results, maybe it's because of some of these other factors that you're not quite accounting for.
all comes back to intentionality.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. If you like this or you have any suggestions, other metrics, post them in the comments.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
All right. Thank you.